Welcome to US Rail Journeys, Series 1, Episode 2, The Sights and Sounds of San Francisco. Almost everyone who visits San Francisco, known as the City by the Bay, is captured by its charms. Tony Bennett left his heart here. And 50 years ago, Scott McKenzie, the Flower Pot Men, and Eric Burden and the Animals all sung about the city that was home to flower power and the hippie movement. It remains a popular international tourist destination that is renowned for its steep hills, famous landmarks, Alcatraz Island, cable cars and Chinatown, all with a diverse cosmopolitan population that lends charm and character to the city. The city population grew 25-fold in 1849 after the discovery of gold at Sutter's Mill the year before, and it has just kept growing ever since then. The early entrepreneurs capitalized on the gold wealth, which benefited banking, the railways and trade. The modern era has seen the city become the fourth most populous city in California and the 13th in the US, with 870,000 residents. The city has been judged the fittest in the US and has a progressive political culture that is unlike most of the rest of the United States. There are world-famous galleries, restaurants and shops sharing top billing alongside Fisherman's Wharf and the financial district for the travellers coming from all over the globe. It's a city where small businesses with fewer than 10 employees make up 85% of all city business establishments. The city sits on the San Andreas Fault, and around 80% of the city was levelled by the 1906 earthquake and the following fire. These events made up to 300,000 people homeless. That was 75% of the then population. Lloyd's of London was a major insurer for the city. They paid out over $50 million in claims. That was equivalent to more than 20% of the total paid out. So after the journey on the train, I've now got to my hotel, the Hilton in the financial district of San Francisco. This hotel is just next to Chinatown, and I'm on the 25th floor. And if you look at the photograph I've just taken out of my window, you can see that I'm high up. Sadly, I'm on the back, and so all I can see are very, very large skyscrapers. If I was on the other side, I'd be able to see the bay. However, it's a comfortable room, and that's all that matters. Day 3 of my journey, and down to Pier 39 on Fisherman's Wharf. Pier 39, when you walk along it, is very reminiscent of the type of attractions that you see in Blackpool. However, just next to it is the ticket office for the Blue and Gold Fleet, who do San Francisco Bay tours, and also it's where their boats go from. So I bought my tickets, boarded the boat, having had to queue for a little while, and off round the bay.
Under regulations set forth by the United States Coast Guard. Emergency exits are located on the first deck. Life rings are located outside on each deck, and life jackets are located under seats in marked bins throughout the cabins. Children must be supervised by an adult at all times on this voyage. In the unlikely event of an emergency, passengers should remain calm and follow crew member instructions. We recommend you remain seated for the duration of the voyage. However, if you find it necessary to move about the cabin, please do so with extreme caution and always use the provided handrails. Be extra careful near stairwells. For your safety, please do not stand on the benches, and please refrain from smoking anywhere on the vessel.
we are headed out on a cruise around the San Francisco Bay. We'll voyage out under the Golden Gate Bridge, around famous Alcatraz Island, and get a unique seaside view of this beautiful city on the bay. From San Francisco to Alcatraz to the Golden Gate Bridge and beyond, we'll be covering a lot of territory today, a lot of history, and a lot of stories. San Francisco is a port city, a city with salt water in her veins. Take a good look, my friends, for this is no ordinary view.
Having pulled away from Pier 39, the photograph shows you a large liner moored just behind Pier 39, and these liners provide a lot of business to the San Francisco attractions. The Bay Tour continues showing you downtown, and the hotel I was in is just behind the Transamerica building that you can see in this photograph. This photograph over the stern of the boat shows you the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge, a very major road route across the bay. We travelled on past many of the San Francisco sites and on towards the Golden Gate Bridge. I do like the Golden Gate Bridge because not only is it a beautiful structure and a beautiful place, but some of the genuine engineering skills in building a bridge such as this are quite wonderful. And I do love the lattice work of the steel underneath the road deck across the bridge. Also, once you've passed the bridge, you're out into the Pacific Ocean. And in a way, it's next stop Asia. However, of course, this being a 1.5 hour bay tour, you get no chance of going to Asia. Instead, having passed the bridge, the boat heads back past Alcatraz Island. As you all probably know, Alcatraz was a prison for some of the worst offenders in the United States. And although it was not all that far from the city of San Francisco, the currents in the bay made it virtually impossible for anyone to escape, purely because once you got into the water, you'd be carried out to sea by the currents. The prison itself is abandoned. Well, I say abandoned, there are a lot of tours around the prison, but abandoned as a prison and has been for some years now. As you can see, though, it's pretty grim. It must have been a very unpleasant experience to be locked up in a prison and able to look at the beauty of San Francisco itself. From Alcatraz also you do get a wonderful view of the Golden Gate Bridge. Much of Alcatraz is now derelict, and I wonder if, in the not too distant future, it will become impossible to visit Alcatraz because it will become unsafe for people to go into the buildings.
Please do stay seated while we are moving. I'll announce each one of the upcoming stops with plenty of time for you to decide if it's of interest to you. I'll even warn you about some great photo opportunities by saying, get your cameras ready.
Once I disembarked from the boat, I decided to take a hop-on, hop-off bus tour around the city. I wasn't planning really to hop on and hop off, but I did want to see the city from a double-deck bus. I took the blue route on the map that you can see, and this sets off from just past Fisherman's Wharf, through the Golden Gate Park, and then into downtown San Francisco. I found the tour very, very interesting, and it ended up just outside the hotel I was staying in, so it was perfect for me. My final trip of the day was to go on the cable car. The cable cars plunge down the very steep streets of San Francisco and then, of course, climb back up. But at the end of the cable car route is this turntable where you can see one of the cable car drivers turning his cable car around for the return journey up the hill. After that, I had something to eat, collected my baggage from the hotel, and set off down to the Financial District bus stop for the coach to take me out to Emeryville Station. This podcast has been made by the Mr. T Podcast Studio. Thank you very much for listening.